Welcome to the Bravo Papers, a safe space for all us Bravo fans who love to analyze, deconstruct, and talk about our favorite Bravo shows ad nauseum. There's no such thing as overanalyzing or reading too much into your favorite Bravo shows and Bravo celebrities here. So join me, Bravo and Botox, as I find the depth amongst the shallow. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Bravo Papers podcast. I have a very special guest today. He is the genius behind the Reality Comics 2 podcast and social media accounts. He has the most hilarious memes. And if you like what I do with my Twitter roundups, you will love what he does, because his memes are so funny and I share them all the time, but there's so many of them. You got to go. Okay. At Reality Comics 2 on Instagram. If you're not following, you're missing just everything. You're missing it. You have to go and follow now. Okay. His memes are so funny. He covers all sorts of Bravo stuff, and he also covers scripted TV too. So if you're a scripted TV fan, get with it. Okay.
Yes.
So welcome, Kendrick.
Why, thank you. Look, first of all, I've got to say, because you say you share them all the time. You do. You are one of my most avid supporters, and I love it. Every time I can always tell
I really love what you do. Yeah. It's not you. If I really like what someone does, then I'm like, why not? Why wouldn't I support? Because it's great.
Right. You're
and there's
amazing.
and there's a lot of crap out there that gets, a lot of attention.
Right.
If we're going to be honest, it's just not that great. I'm like, why is this getting all the attention?
Exactly. I'd feel the same way sometimes. Crap that spews negative. I'm like, no, I don't I don't do too much of the negative. I really just like to make people laugh, and then I get out of the way. I'm like, okay, get back to your normal scheduled programs. I'm out of the way. Now I just wanted to throw some funny on the content line. So
right.
Yeah, that's all I'm here for. Thank you for having me.
Oh my God. I'm so, you know what, when I thought who is going to come and talk with me about Nene and Carlos and Real Housewives of Atlanta, you were, of course, the first person that popped into my head, because I was like, I need someone who is as obsessed as I am with Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Yes. And you already probably know, but I've watched both of these interview parts, I think 3 times.
I did too.
Now, so yes.
Okay, I did watch them 3 times, but I watched I did active quote unquote watching. So
yes.
So I was watching.
It was
very
movie night.
Intense. Yes. So sometimes, I'll watch these shows. I'm on my phone. It wasn't like that. I was fully engaged, taking notes. I was rewinding I sound so old when I say rewinding. I was going back. Feels like VHS days. Okay. I was going back and, and then I was reading all the recaps and stuff like that other people were doing. So I'm like, oh, maybe there was some key points that I missed. So, but I thought it was very interesting.
It was I see, because when they said it was a 3-hour sit down, I was like, oh God, they must, what all did they talk about? But their Africa is 12 years of being on the show. There was a lot of content to cover, and then the stuff with her son, the stuff with Greg, it was Ryan Murphy. It was a lot of stuff. Nene is a full rounded reality TV star, so there was a lot of stuff to get in there, and I love the fact that they both, you can tell they had a genuine relationship, because I don't like when this is such a random example. If a Barbara you can always tell when a Barbara Walters type interviews someone, you can kind of tell that the content that they're talking about is so beneath them that it doesn't come across as fun. This was 2 people that love the genre, that know each other forever, and so they anything they said, I was buying, because I'm you both were there, y'all are boots on the ground, y'all can give us the inside perspective, and if you don't agree with something, you can offer a whole nother perspective because you were both there. So that's what I like. I don't like the kind of the snooty oh, well, this person, she's on reality TV, but and now, so let's talk to her, that kind of stuff. I don't like that. So
that's a good point. And the other thing I was thinking too was that it reminded me of when Carlos interviewed Teresa Giudice, because did you listen to that? Yeah, I thought that was good, because he had some real insight about what it was like to film with her and with Joe and the family. So I was like, he's not always my favorite whatever interviewer, and I don't really agree with a lot of his I agree with some of his opinions, but not all of them.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I think that he does have an insider point of view, and he has like
Mhm.
a relationship with them that you're right. Other people just wouldn't be able to have that, and they wouldn't be able to speak to what it was like to actually work with this person. And like you said,
Right.
like boots on the ground. Okay, but
Mhm.
before we get into it, can you tell the wonderful listeners a little bit
Mhm.
about what you do?
Yeah. Okay. So
And like how
I
your account started, how you got into Bravo, maybe a little bit of
ooh,
that, because we're interested.
absolutely. So I'm not like the typical like Bravo account because I cover more
Mhm.
than just Bravo, but I also
Right.
didn't start like as an account. I started as a podcast, and I was like, "Crap, I got to promote the podcast, so let me start an Instagram account." So like I've always like it wasn't like the so like I don't do like the news reporting and like breaking
Right.
news. This guy I don't do any of that. All my stuff is like running through the podcast, where I'm like, God, I got to get other people like to the podcast. So that's really how like
Yeah.
the social media of it all started. But I I think Atlanta was my first like Bravo outing, and it was
Mm-hmm.
like season one. So like I've been there
Oh,
like from the beginning. Like I don't know how it happened, but like I was in college, and I dated myself a little bit, but I was in
that's
college,
okay.
and season one happened, and I remember like laying on my couch. I was the only one there that day. And I think it was like close to the end of the season. So I didn't catch it from the very beginning, but it was in like towards the end of the season. And they were promoting that a reunion was coming up. And I was like, oh, I've always been a sucker for a reunion. So I'm like, okay,
Same.
perfect. I know, and still to this day, I don't care who it is. I will like not watch a season of like a show, but I will tune in for the reunion. I'm just like, that's everything I need. It's like Spark Notes back in
Yep.
its like prime. So like I'm here. So I remember I was laying on the couch, and they were like, "Oh, a reunion!" And so, like, when reunions coming up, they tend to marathon stuff. So I remember sitting down, and I'd caught like 3 episodes of it. I was like, "Okay, I got to go back and watch this from the beginning because this is amazing. I'm gonna tune in live for the reunion." I managed to watch all the episodes. I became obsessed. I genuinely loved everybody on the cast. I love Lisa Wu. I love Deshaun Snow. I know she wasn't like the most exciting to people, but I loved the like. This is like the first time we were seeing like true like black opulence behind the gates
Mm-hmm.
of wealth because she was married to like
Mm-hmm.
an active athlete and like all this kind of stuff. So I was like, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
love this. And watching her build the house, watching her do the charity in Atlanta that nobody donated to, like it was, I loved it all. So
That
I
was
was
a good
there.
one.
Yes, I was all in first season. Reunion kept me there, and then I was like an active viewer. But when you watch other stuff, you're like, oh, I'm watching Atlanta, but what is this commercial that's showing New Jersey? What is that? Okay, wait, okay, so this isn't the only one. There are other ones. So then you start watching New Jersey, and you're like, oh, there's a New York. You watch New York. Oh, Orange County's coming back. So you watch Orange County, and you just kind of get thrown
Yeah.
in the
Next
mix
thing you
that way.
know, you're
Right,
watching
you're there.
17 shows.
Exactly. You're there all the time. And that's how it's been for the past, 15, 16 years. So I've been there.
Oh my God. It is so funny that you remember like where you were sitting.
Yes.
You're like writing a paragraph with imagery and
Yeah.
description. Like it's just only real Bravo people are like I remember where I was sitting when you know what I mean? Like we have this memory of like,
I
this
was
is how the
there.
obsession started.
Yes.
And so on your show, you talk about Bravo stuff, but you talk about other shows too. And you've been getting a
Yes.
lot of like reality star guests.
Yes, thank you. Oh,
That's
thank you for
pretty
like highlighting that.
awesome.
Thank you, because so people like if you are obsessed with Bravo, then it's easy to get obsessed with other stuff too. So like a couple of my other fandoms, like I love Marvel, so like I talk about Marvel a lot. Every time they do like one of the shows on Disney Plus, I break it down in every episode because like I'm a comic reader, so like I talk about that. But my other obsession that like fits in with Bravo more, I love Love Island. Like I don't know when it started. Someone just told me to watch one day, and it was happening during the pandemic. So I haven't always been there because it's based in the UK, but then like the other ones sprung around. Right. And now we have a USA version that's in season 5. And Peacock does it so well. I didn't like it too much on CBS. Like I watched but like I'm like, nah, I wasn't the biggest fan, but it came on Peacock starting season 4. Like they just started like actually doing it. Fantastic. I'm all the way in.
You're all in.
But UK obviously is kind of all of ours, baby. We love the UK version. And so I watch all the time. I break it down, have people come on and talk about it. But I also like to reach out to like the USA people because UK is a little harder because we don't get to watch in real time like the UK people do.
Right.
And so we're always like, now we've got only a 5-day delay. So we're not that far behind. But at first it was like 3 weeks. It was crazy. So like the winter would happen and we wouldn't know who won the show until like nearly a month later. So it was crazy.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it sucked. But so I love talking to the USA people because we're all watching at the same time. We're voting.
Right.
We don't get to vote with the UK, and that sucks. But
Yeah,
all of that. So I've had on. I had and I will have on some more cast members this season. But I just had on Victor, who was involved in like a really big kind of love triangle on the show, and it was a mess. And right after he left, she told the other guy she didn't want to be with him, so it was a mess. And
my god,
it's kind of stuff that I love. I soak it up. So
maybe I need to get into it.
Yes,
I've watched a little bit, but it's hard for me to find it here. I don't.
Yeah.
Like I looked on Hey You, I can't find the US one, and that's the one I wanted to watch because that was the one everyone was talking about right now. But maybe I didn't try hard enough, so maybe I'm gonna try again.
Let me ask. So, like, what's y'all's version? Do y'all have Peacock?
Well, so we have Peacock, but it's like through Hey You.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if you see like. What's his name? Joe Gunn. He's always making like Hey You jokes because he's in the UK, and I believe that Hey You they have the same thing. But a lot of the Peacock shows they don't get added on until like way later. Like Real Housewives of Miami, it didn't get put on. They didn't put it on for like 4 months after it aired. Like, thanks. That's useful to no one. So, right? Like we want to watch it and be tweeting and all that stuff. So what I did was I watched it basically through this, like I kind of have like an Amazon Fire Stick thing that I don't know. Yeah, like my husband's got also, I don't know how it works, but it works. So so I'm watching it, so I do get it all, but I was trying to find it on there and I felt like the seasons didn't make sense in terms of where it should be. So maybe I just need to search again because I do want to watch it.
I know I'm obsessed.
Yeah. And like everything I read and I see, people tweeting about, I'm like, damn, this sounds really good. And it sounds like it's right up my alley. Not that I need another TV show, but
I know that's the peril with all of us. None of us actually need another one, but then we find something we're like, I not only am I obsessed with this, I need all of y'all to be just as obsessed with me about it so I can not be screaming into the void. So yeah.
It's like my plate is spilling over, yet I want more food on the plate. Like that's
gluttony at its finest. Exactly.
All right. Well, let's talk about this interview. What the people came for. Okay.
Yes.
So what I did was I made notes, and these are my headlines of my head. Can I tell you? Yes. Sheree, Payment, Kenya, Phaedra, Cynthia, Portia, Andy Bravo lawsuits, Bethenny.
Yes.
And then the show now. Oh, and Kim Z. So those are just some. So, like you said, it was 3 hours. There's so much to talk about. We're not going to talk about everything because that's just impossible. But I just pulled the housewife stuff.
Yeah. The stuff applicable to your audience. That makes sense. Yeah.
Right. Because we don't necessarily need to talk about everything else. Now, can I just tell you, though, what my overall impression was of why this interview happened and what the motive behind it was, and then you tell me what you think or if you agree.
Okay.
So by the end of the interview, I felt like this was done as Nene's bridge back into reality TV. So I felt that this was all purposefully done so that she could open the door to maybe talking to Andy again. I don't know, fixing those burnt bridges, I guess, repairing them. And like and we could get to it when we get to talking about what she said about Andy, but there were some specific things that she said that really made me feel like she was maybe trying to find a way to get herself back to where she was.
Yes.
So I feel like it was not just at first when I heard about it, I thought, okay, she's going on this. It's, Nene's going to spill all the tea and she's going to be she's going to say what she wants to say and maybe be annoyed at the way that things have played out. She's had these lawsuits, all this stuff. So I thought it was almost like a day of reckoning, as like Bethenny's calling it now.
Right.
I thought it was going to be like that. But then by the end, I actually felt that it wasn't. I actually felt like she was almost trying to make peace maybe and looking for some new opportunities. So what did you think?
Oh, I felt pretty much the same way.
Okay.
I think that one thing is I think that she was trying to open more doors for herself, because I do think that there was like kind of a level of blackballing that happened, whether it was just with NBC or other people, like we don't know, but there definitely was something. And her face is, one of the most recognizable in the space. Oh, yes. So like there should be like Nene Leakes cameos everywhere. But we've seen also that other networks are willing to work with her, because like she did Celebrity College Hill on BET Plus and like all this kind of stuff. So I know the doors aren't closed, but I think that she probably feels like, and Carlos feels that way too. I think they both feel like she was the reason that Bravo is really what it is today. And this whole thing doesn't make sense. I think they both want to kind of, this was also, it was a way of like reaching out without reaching out. Like she wanted to kind of say, can we just talk without the lawyers being there? And like just us, and not have all them involved, because with them involved, it doesn't make sense. And then a lot of stuff maybe could go away. So I'm in the same camp as you. I think that I think there's opportunity for her, because let me tell you something. I have a strong feeling. I don't know if it's going to come true or not, but I have a strong feeling that Bravo is going to offer Kim Zolciak a contract for next season. And if they do, I think that is going to, like, with the fans especially, all hell is going to break loose, because it's going to be like, and people are going to be quoting and finding this interview. So it's like, that is going to be like a clear fire way of them saying, like, we've chosen sides. We don't know if you can come back from this, Nene. There's legality involved in it, like all this kind of stuff. So,
okay, so you think that if they ask Kim back, does that mean that Nene is 100% never coming back?
I think so, because at that point, you just dance around all your OCs instead of going to the one that people are asking for. So I think, I almost
so this might be a preemptive move for Nene to say, don't do that.
Right.
Okay. Oh, and I like that.
But she did say she was willing to work with Kim, but it's just that all of the housewives over the years have said they feel like Kim didn't have to work nearly as hard as the rest of them. She'd have to go on trips and all this kind of stuff. So I think that a lot would have to change for Kim to come back and be welcomed amongst the group. I mean, it would be entertaining to see her have to interact with everybody, because her and Nene, honestly, like, I don't know where that would be, but I would watch it. I mean, give it to me now.
I mean, God, let's be honest, I'm going to watch it no matter what.
Right.
Okay, so since we're talking about Kim, I'm just let's skip down to Kim, because she said that Kim, and we're not going to go in order. Who cares? She said Kim was, like you said, given special treatment. She didn't have to go on trip, which, like, that was not shocking to me at all, because we saw, like, when she didn't go to Africa, that was
after they planned around her. Yeah.
Right. They were pissed, and they all asked her to that lunch, and they were like, basically, what the fuck? And she was like, was that the same lunch where she storms out and Croy is like, stop filming? Or was that was it, right? Okay. And then the whole season became about the Black Baby Gate, because so the whole season was about, kind of ended up being about how Kim didn't go. And then they talked about her, and she didn't travel. And then, also not surprising, she talks about Kim Z having issues, which we know means, in my opinion, racism. And that, and we saw it firsthand, right? Like, we saw so many incidents of it. Like when she said that like she had to lock her doors in Candy's neighborhood, even though they're like going to a freaking mansion. Like, come on. Right. And then remember at that last reunion backstage, how she was complaining about how, like, no other, like, white woman would be paid to film with all. Right. So there's no denial of that at this point. But what did you think about, kind of, I guess, Nene's feelings about it, or the way that she talked about it? What did you think?
This is a good way almost to kind of relate it to the Bethenny of it all that's happening right now, I think. Because it's funny to me that Nene And some of the Atlanta housewives have been like saying this for years, how it's really not fair. Kim has been put on a pedestal. Kim has to do all this and that and all this kind of stuff. But now like Bethenny has unionized and like done all this stuff. And now all of a sudden, like every Bravo celebrity is coming out of the woodwork to kind of support. And so I think it really is kind of, it's really telling, because it's like telling, nobody wanted to, you know, support when it was all these people saying it's not fair that this is happening, which I also get to, because like a lot of them stayed on the shows. So it's like, well, I don't know if you're actually, you know, need us to rally around you or what's happening, because you're, you know, you're monetizing from it. But it's also like, well, damn, like, what are we doing? Because, you know, y'all got this whole boycotting stuff now, and it's really, it's not adding up. Like we're all kind of like reading between the lines and stuff like that. It's getting, it's really weird. And I hope that we come to a place where, if, you know, obviously we want Nene to work it out with Bravo, that would be ideal for everyone. But I hope it
especially us viewers.
Right. I hope that it comes to a place though where if Kim does get asked back, because I think I don't know why I see it, but I think this whole like her and Croy faking this divorce. I don't know what.
See, I hope. I mean, I hope that they don't. But I know some people want it, but I'm good without it.
Right. I can so see it happening, because like I feel like there'd be another connection for Sheree. I think they would probably get rid. I don't know. They'd probably get rid of Sonya and probably, you know.
Yes, get rid of Sonya. That's fine. You know how I feel about Sonya.
Yes. And so
God,
I feel like
she's so, besides her husband, I have no need for her. I'm sorry. She's everyone so boring. Shout out to Aaron. And now and honestly, now she's pregnant. Like, not to sound like Sutton, but like,
I know, exactly. Because now it's like, okay, well, you can't even turn up on the group chips or anything. It's just like we're just accommodating you. Yeah. Yeah.
So she also said that Nene said Bethenny teeters around saying bad things about Bravo, but Carlos disagreed. And he said, so I made note of this, and he said he thinks that Bethenny does straight up talk shit about Bravo, which I agree with him. I think
me too.
I think he's right. She does. He also asked, like, you know, does Bethenny get different treatment? And then Nene cited the fact that she still has gotten to come on Watch What Happens Live. You know, she says things that Nene can't. She won't get blacklisted. She still gets work. You know, things like that. So, you know, I now maybe not as much, because Bethenny has really pushed this like super far, so this may have changed it, but overall, I mean, Bethenny did say Housewives is bad for women, it's anti-feminist, it pits women against each other, blah blah blah. And then she was on Watch What Happens Live, which that was when Andy and Jeff Lewis kind of called her on it. But still, Nene's right. She did get to go on Watch What Happens Live, and she did get to talk about
her point.
Yeah, she got to defend her point. That's right. Now, do you think it's any different in the sense that like Nene had an official lawsuit, or do you think this started before the lawsuit? Because I just can't remember with the timelines.
I do. I think that I do think it's different, because I think that Nene has been vocal too. I think in the past it's more so been towards her cast members. I think that the lawsuit made a statement with her being vocal against Bravo. I think the difference is Bethenny can do it, and they invite her on, and they like want to talk about it. Radio Andy, Watch What Happens Live, Jeff Lewis, like all this stuff. She's invited everywhere. And I don't know if they respect Bethenny more than they respect Nene, or what the case is, but it always kind of feels like Bethenny can be as unhinged as possible and say whatever she wants to, eating a boiled bag with crab legs and all this kind of stuff, and doing whatever she wants to, while Nene kind of has to she almost can't like defend herself publicly, whereas Bethenny can say whatever and it's okay. Now, I think it might be, like you said, I think it'll be different in the future, because now Bethenny is calling for unionizing and calling for
and she's really gone off the edge.
Yes, basically doing what the actors and writers strikers are doing, by saying we don't want, you know, like we want to be paid for, you know, backfill. We want to be, you know, getting all these wages for stuff that because it's our lives and all this kind of stuff, base minimum pays and all this kind of thing. So, and it's really telling, because for me, I think that take Bethenny out of the equation. Everything she's saying is so correct. Like there should be a standard because, like, I've heard on reality TV shows, people will get like 700, like what is it, like $1,050 for a season of a reality show.
Yeah, when they're first started, it takes years before they make anything good.
And I'm like, that's beyond. Like, for me, there will be no incentive because, like, what is that going to do for me? Like, how nobody can live off of that. Like, that's crazy. You're shooting for what, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, and then you want me to last off $1,000? Like, no, that's crazy.
But people do it because they see it as a door to Instagram following. Then I can monetize from there. Then I could start a business, or they hope that they'll be the Bethenny, right? Who can use. But I mean, she has a point in that most won't be, because it's not, it's you have to have, I don't know, like it's almost a somewhat luck, somewhat skill, but not everyone's going to be able to become like some millionaire CEO of a company. It's just not realistic.
Everyone doesn't have the personality to even like last more than a couple of seasons on a reality show either. So we're not interested too. But the Bethenny of it all is so interesting to me because her and Nene say a lot of the same things, but both of them, people can argue whether or not either one of them is the right messenger sometimes. And I think that's what I'm struggling with this whole Bethenny.
That's my struggle
striking.
Too.
Yeah, because it's like everything.
I had to do a whole episode about it. I'm struggling so much.
I'm literally like, I'm in my mind. I'm like, I know you're saying the right stuff, but you and like I know the history of you and what you said publicly and what you do and stuff. I can't take you seriously personally, so I'm struggling a little bit. So like this is when I was just like, you know what? Let me sit on the sidelines and watch how this unfolds for a little while. And that's how it's been. With Nene, it unfolded with a lawsuit. With her, it's folding with kind of like union strikes and all this kind of stuff. So yeah.
Well, and I mean, so that kind of brings us to the payment, my payment subheading. Yes. So they didn't make a lot. So she says they made less than 100K until season 4 because they all, okay, so this is the part that just makes me want to be like, everyone needs to wake up and stop assuming that Bethenny is, I have a lot of issues with, like, as somebody who is like, I am a union worker. So as somebody who's in a union and I understand the ins and outs of it, she doesn't know what she's doing and she's not doing it properly. That's my opinion. Anyways, I agree with you. Everything she's saying is right. I'm pro-union, all that. I think these reality stars should have more rights, but let's look at what Nene said. They all got together. They got a lawyer that was going to represent all of them. And they went together as a team. That's what you have to do. And this happened behind the scenes. So first of all, Bethenny is showing all of her cards on Entertainment Tonight, on TikTok. That is not
on the streets of New York when someone has a camera phone. Like, it's crazy.
Exactly. So she's giving away everything. She's giving away the farm. And she really is. And she's not leaving herself that much room for negotiation. Like, even to the point that I think she's alienating other reality stars who she could have gotten on her side by saying, because Bethenny always says too much. She needs to say less. Anyways, I don't want to get all into that because I could go for hours. But anyways, then there's also some things where I have to be a little like, if I'm going back to the Nene interview, like she was like, oh yeah, we paid for our own dresses. And I was like, yeah, I can't get behind you on that one. Like, she's like, we paid for our own parties and stuff. I'm like, well, it is a reality show. Right. So yeah, I don't think I don't think they need to put you in costume. And I don't think they need to do like throw fancy parties for you. Like let them show your life, especially on the first season. Like, it's, it wasn't like whatever.
Like, no one cares about their first season. Like, we don't care.
Exactly. But I do understand what she's saying about, like, if they hadn't fought and they hadn't all got together with the lawyer, then who knows? But that's why, like, you do have to be smart, and you do have to a point, know what you're worth. And I think they could tell based on like the rising ratings and the popularity of the show. So they got together and they did that. But that's the thing. Everyone this is the problem. Everyone who's new in reality TV doesn't think they're worth that much. Right. They're going to come in and be like, once they see me, I'm going to be the next, whatever. and then I'll be able to make the big money. And that's kind of the attitude, which is kind of what makes it difficult, I think, for these reality stars, especially this whole Bethenny situation.
It's so funny because
it's a weird situation.
Yeah, everybody thinks that, we all have those people that like say like, oh my God, you should be on a reality show, or you should do this, or you should do that. And then once those people get on there, you realize how much actually goes into it, because you might be the Nene or the Teresa or the Bethenny of your circle. You're probably not going to be on this show though. You might just be cast member number 5. Like that's just how it works out a lot of the time. So constantly going out there and being like, you know what? I know I can do this. I'll take the $1,000 because I'm gonna be the biggest star that they've ever seen. And then you get cut after second season. Oh, it's like, well, I'm sorry. They hyped you, but it wasn't worth it. I'm sorry.
So speaking of parties, by the way, and paying for parties, she I thought this was funny. I had to make note of it. Nene says that Sheree finally admitted that she purposefully left Nene off the list for the party. And she basically said that Sheree is a good, and I have to say I agree with her. She said Sheree is a good reality TV star if she has someone else to work off of, like Nene. But that's about it. And that's why Sheree hasn't made it far in terms of her own success. Honestly, though, like, she's not wrong. I'm sorry. Sheree has her moments, but again, like, I don't know. What did you think about the whole, like, Sheree being like, this is the house that we built, and like that whole thing?
I get it, Sheree, because those were the 3 names we knew. We knew Kim, we knew Nene, we knew Sheree. Like I get that.
Yeah, I get it too. Right.
But Nene is like spot on when she said that Sheree really does need someone to bounce off of. I think that's one of the reasons why I always enjoy Atlanta, just because they're I like funny reality TV. So they're always funny. Too. So like I always enjoy them, but I think that's one of the reasons why people are struggling so much with like the current season is because she really doesn't have anyone to go up against. Like her and Kenya get along, but in my opinion, I think season 9 when Sheree came back and it was the battle of the houses, I think that was the funniest Sheree had ever been. Like there's one episode was I could watch. Amazing. Yes, Kenya's housewarming. I could watch that episode I don't know how many times because Sheree had me laughing from start
when she's coming down the driveway and she's like, "Oh, I gotta take off my heels. I can't walk in this."
Like the Flintstones. I don't know what's going on.
When I hit 20K followers on Instagram, I did like a celebration post, and I did my top 20 the best pettiest fights on Housewives, and that was my number 1. Because it is like when she's like, Sheree, Chateau, she ain't never gonna live there. Like
Chateau Thelma,
I just cannot. I totally agree with you. I love some Sheree too, but I understood what she was saying, and like, like Sheree hasn't been able to leverage maybe the same way that Candy and others have leveraged, of course.
And it's crazy because
Kenya too.
Right. It's crazy too because Sheree, like, I always struggle with whether or not it's Sheree. I love to have her there, but I just need like a better like group around her to like really activate her, because the show sometimes like actually like interacting with the other women, she might not give too much, but then when she gets in those confessionals, those interview chairs, she's hilarious. So I'm like, man, if you could just figure out a way to give us both of those, you could really like be the anchor of this show. It's just it rarely ever connects that way. I feel like it hadn't connected that way since the last time she was there. And then once Nene came back, she was right back to like kind of finding herself as the the secondary instead of one of the frontline characters. You got to figure it out.
I think Sheree can always have I think she's like a key cog in the machine. I don't know if I could ever see her as the anchor though.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I just don't feel like she has like the anchor, I don't know, energy. Like you're right. She can do it in the confessionals, but then she always fumbles it when, you know what I mean? Like she always picks the wrong side. I don't think she's as intelligent as Nene is. Like Nene just has like that, like kind of social, I don't know. She just understands all the like social nuances of the group in a way that I feel like, yeah, her and Kenya really do. So does Candy. I would say even Phaedra, but I would say Sheree, not, I don't know. To me, but she does play a key role. That's why I'm sorry, I have to still agree with Nene, because at the end of the day, like, you could take Sheree out and just still have had Nene on the show going up against someone else, and the show would have still been a success.
Because you need a Nene to really like activate a Kenya. I'm sorry, like I actually really enjoy Courtney, but Courtney isn't going to activate Kenya. Kenya doesn't take Courtney seriously enough, and I'd really like Courtney because Courtney could be good on the show.
She's annoying.
Yes, she very much so, and that's kind of why she cracks me up, because both Candy and Kenya, like, they disregard her every step of the way, and she wants to be like acknowledged so much. But you need those people that are gonna like elevate the cast, and she's just not that. Now, if Nene came back, she'd fight with Candy, she'd fight with Kenya. She most likely her and Sheree would get into it. Her and Marlo would probably stick together out of loyalty, and Drew might stick together with her. But it's a lot. I'm sure Sonya, she has nothing for her, so. Ooh. Yeah,
that is so true. And they would all care. Like, if they're going against Nene, you're going to care, because you can't not care. Right. And yeah, you're right. That was like, that's such a good point. Because now when I'm thinking about the seasons with like when Candy was so upset with Phaedra and stuff, it's because like they knew we are like the cogs. So like if you're fighting with one of them, you have to worry about it. And there's no one to worry about right now. That is
no one.
There just really isn't. Okay, so let's talk about Kenya a little bit here, because so here's what she said about Kenya and Phaedra and all those other girls coming on. So she said Kenya changed the game because she had a fake boyfriend. And that, which like, I still like, okay, I don't know. What do you believe? Who do you believe here? Because I really struggle, because it seemed authentic, and then afterwards I don't remember the boyfriend's name right now, but remember he was like doing interviews
saying that she paid him,
right, but then Walter so I was like, oh, that looks really bad. But then but I don't know, it's like Kenya's like, she's like, I'm gonna deny till I die, like I am not admitting anything. So what do you do? Do you believe Nene?
You know what, I kind of do. Okay. I know that's so terrible. I kind of do believe it, just because Walter kicked up such a stink about it and had all these receipts and stuff. Now, what I do, okay, so I don't think that it was totally like, let me put in an ad on Craigslist, find someone that'll participate. Like, I don't think it was that kind of like situation. I think that's what Nene kind of wants like to project a little bit, but I think it was more of a, I know this guy. Okay. He's in Atlanta. I'm not. Because remember, at the time, I think she was going back and forth between Atlanta and California. Right. And so I think that, okay, there's this guy in Atlanta. He's nice. I know him, like yada, yada, yada. Maybe he'll be interested in being on this show with me. Maybe we can like date a little bit, all this kind of stuff. So I think there was kind of a concocted element to it. I just don't think it was like the way that both of them are trying to portray, like, because Walter too was like, well, no, she paid me and all yada yada like that. I think there was, it wasn't quite like that, but I do think there was an element of that to it. Yeah. I mean, the truth is usually in the middle. So you're probably right. I think it's probably a gray, like, even maybe they had dated and it didn't work out or something like that. And then she was like, can you just like kind of like go along with this? Like, it was probably something like that. She also said that she thinks that, I thought this was interesting. She said she thought Kenya could have been bigger. But she changed the way that people looked at her, because I guess before that, she was like really revered as like this, like, this pageant winner. She was like people had her on a pedestal. And then she came on and she was like villain all the way. Right. Yeah. So she was like, I actually feel like the show maybe was almost like detrimental to her career, which I thought was surprising, because you don't really, I don't know, that surprised me a lot. It's so funny because I just watched Twa for somebody else's podcast and we talked about it. And that was one of Kenya's like, big claims to fame, that, Miss USA and all this kind of stuff. Right. And she really, in the 90s, Kenya Moore, like, as someone that watched like all these sitcoms, Kenya Moore really was like the person that was like a guest star on so much, like Martin and like all these, hanging with Mr. Cooper, like all these different shows. And so she was really like
People
that girl,
knew her face. Yeah.
But I actually don't think that Atlanta Housewives was detrimental to her. I think that this is the first time where we were genuinely seeing a quote unquote kind of villain. And even though because I think it's reality TV, I think it's necessary sometimes to have someone that you love to hate.
Oh,
and
me
Kenya,
too.
I think on Housewives specifically, I think she was one of the first to actually be there, because before that it was we were going in and out with people. It's like, oh, I don't like you too much this season. Oh, I love you again. Oh, like that. Kenya really like kind of took it upon herself to be kind of the butthole a lot of times, and
yes,
I think she wanted to. I don't even think it was a whole thing. I think she wanted to portray herself like that, but also I think he's right in the sense that I think she too kind of wanted to hold on to that whole I'm Miss USA, the second black one, like all this kind of stuff. So I think there was a little bit of both in the middle, and I think those things were kind of conflicting a little bit. So
yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, so I think it was a great move for Kenya, because like now all the doors have opened up, and whether you like her or not, you have to like call her what she is. She's one of the greatest of all time when it comes to
exactly.
Housewives. So it kind of the way you look at it, I think. Now I do think that when she first joined, because I remember I had a cousin who loved her, because she was really into the beauty pageant world.
Okay.
She loved watching.
She knew that world, yeah,
like that. And when I told her, I was like, oh my God, Kenya Moore is going to be on the new season of The Housewives back, season 5 when it was announced. She was like, oh no. She was like, I hate that. I'm not going to watch. And so it was that kind of reaction. So I think that's kind of what Nene was talking about at the time, where people were like, this can't be anything good for her because it's going to be messy reality TV.
I think there is a disconnect with the pageant world, because even I remember hearing, or I read when I was doing my Raquel episode, that she thought, and Raquel would think this because she's dumb, but she thought that the show was gonna help her win pageants.
What?
But exactly. Apparently, according to some friend of hers who did an interview, was yeah, she thought the show would actually elevate her pageant career. She didn't understand that it's actually going to be detrimental.
Right.
Because those are two separate worlds. If you once you leave one and go to the other, and obviously I think Kenya and Candace and people like that are smart enough to know that, yeah, I'm switching up.
Right. I'm not trying to get back into pageants aren't my backup plan.
Exactly. There's only so far you can go in pageants, to be fair. So, and look at what they've both been able to do. So she also said about Phaedra, I don't know why I just laugh when I think of Phaedra sometimes. It's because I always think about the pregnancy thing. Okay, so
the pickles.
Yes, and I love that. She felt a way about her coming on, is what she said. So I wrote that down. She didn't think she was the right fit. Yep. She also didn't want to. I guess Phaedra didn't want to show everything, which we obviously know, because she tried to lie about her pregnancy. And I guess she just it seemed like Nene was confused, I guess, about what Phaedra's role will be. Now, this is not what Nene said, but this is my interpretation. I think that Nene didn't want someone coming on who knew her prior to her kind of Greg Atlanta life. I think that was a little bit scary for her. What if she brings up, because you do kind of reinvent yourself and recreate yourself. And we know she had a rough times in her life, when she was younger, with the abusive relationship and all that kind of stuff. Maybe she just didn't want, and I can understand that. I don't fault her for that. But I think that, to me, that is why I think she didn't want Phaedra on. But she was very reluctant to admit that at the reunion. I remember her being like, no, we didn't know each other.
Right. I think that's what it is too, because I think Nene wanted to portray herself kind of as the true Atlanta girl, and this and that. But Phaedra was a reminder of the Athens lifestyle, and then too, I think this is so fun to say, but I think too, had Phaedra come on and kind of been a little more glamorous and this kind of stuff, I don't think she would have had as much of a problem with it. But I think because Phaedra was so kind of churchy and kind of a little country and bougetto, as Candy says, and she was all these things. So I think had she presented more like the way that Nene tried to present at that time, she wouldn't have had an issue with it. But then I think that was way too close to home. It's like, okay, no. I don't need these people digging around, and then they can come to you and you can make up anything that you believe, and then they're gonna believe it because you're from my hometown, quote unquote. So I think it was a lot of that. I think it was both the way Phaedra presented and the way that Phaedra really was kind of like, in her mind at least, kind of a question mark, kind of a wild card in a way, because if she wasn't on your side, then she can throw a grenade anytime she wanted to and kind of,
as we saw, she likes to do. Well, and then there's Portia. Yes. So we have to
she's my favorite.
We know, and she's my not favorite. But I'm still in my I love to hate Portia. Yes. I think that I feel the way about Portia that a lot of people feel about Kenya. They love to hate her.
Yes.
So I don't want Portia to go anywhere.
Right.
If she comes back on the show, I'm going to be as excited as all of her number one fans. Just for a different reason.
You need those people that you love to hate. Not
I love to hate Portia.
Hate. Right.
But I thought Nene clocked Portia so well in this interview, because she said, okay, first of all, Portia was on the chopping block after the first season, which I was not surprised about at all, because she was weird. The first season, she was like, I'm not going to go to the strip club. I was like,
right.
What?
Yeah.
Anyways, she didn't, to me, what her fit in, she didn't fit in organically at first.
Yeah.
Now I can't imagine it without her. So, but Nene was like, Cordell held her back, which that's fair. But she said that her and Candy went to full on bat for Portia. And, some people forget about who goes to bat for them, which supports my theory of Portia being a secret villain. But I just think that Portia is she got a little big for her britches. You know what I mean? She got back on that second season and she was grateful, but she forgot in 2 weeks. As soon as she got popular and people loved her, she all of a sudden forgot kind of who helped her and where she came from. And I think that's what annoys me about her, especially with the whole Candy thing. So and Nene's you know what, she has star potential with the right people around her, which I think makes complete sense, because Portia's not the smartest. So I do think so she needs good people around her. That's why, to me, she also could never be the star and anchor the way that Nene was. Sorry, I know a lot of people want her to be that and wanted her to be the queen and to take over, but it didn't work. And it didn't work for a reason. I'm sorry.
And I think one of the big reasons it didn't work for season 13, I think they had a lot working against them at that time. That cast too was weird. I think that everybody kind of didn't know what was going on. They were just kind of showing up because they're like, okay, I got to wear a mask around. You got to know what's going on. Can't breathe. Go over here. All this kind of stuff was going against them. But it was also, I think that both Kenya and Portia wanted to kind of be in the driver's seat, but somehow also both wanted to sit in the back seat as well, which
that
was
is
really
so
weird.
True.
They both wanted other people to kind of rise to the occasion, and no one did. And that was the big thing. So I think Portia was kind of smart in the sense that she was like, okay, this might be a sinking ship now. And Nene's not coming back, this and that. Maybe it's time for me to go ahead and make my exit. Now, had she come back, and I think we could have gotten a Scandival type season had she come back and faced the Simon and Fallon of it all. Oh
my God, I wanted that so bad. I was so invested in that.
Oh my God, I had heart palpitations the night. I remember where I was when she announced it, because that was during the club. Do you remember Clubhouse? That was during the Clubhouse era, and I was I had a group.
Oh, was that show with the four of them?
Wait. Oh no, that was chat room. Room. Yeah.
But that was going on too. And I watched that.
So much happening. I was that night. I was like, oh God, I don't know what's happening. But now I'm embarrassed to be a Portia fan. I don't know what's going on. It was a lot.
Oh my God. And then when they were on the Ultimate Girls Trip and Candace tried to bring it up, I was kind of disappointed in how Portia handled it. I was stand in it. If that was Nene, it would have been. You know what I mean? And that's why Nene is the anchor. But I could see, this is what I hope. I could see Nene and Portia coming back and there being like, I don't know, Portia to me like needs Nene if she's going to be on Atlanta. Because I think
they're fun to watch together too.
They are fun together. They're fun together. Nene keeps her kind of on the right track as much as she can. And kind of forces her to like be a big girl sometimes. And it would be interesting to see now with Portia like married to this like powerful rich man to kind of see how the dynamics would change. I don't know. And with Nene being the single one.
I would like, you know what, kind of going back to your earlier question too, like what we thought the purpose of this was. I think that, you know, Carlos King, people forget because he does talk about Bravo a lot, like on his podcast and stuff, but he has some really successful other reality shows on own network, Bell Collective and All the Love and Marriage, Huntsville, DC, you know, Detroit, all that. I think we might, between her and between Mariah Huck, I think he might try to like scoop up some of this Atlanta talent and do a spinoff there. I think it might happen. Like, I don't know if it's going to be Bell Collective or what it will be, but and I think I'm gonna tune in whatever he gives us.
I will too.
That'll be good stuff. I think it'll be good. I know they're trying to do a tour together, but I think TV is going to happen too naturally. I think it's going to happen.
Okay, so that's another. Oh, there's so many possibilities, and we just. But I never get sick of guessing. Okay, even if none of them come true, I'm still here guessing. Okay, so the one that I was looking the most forward to talking about was Cynthia.
Yes.
Because this was like, I saw a meme the other day that had Cynthia and Nene, and it was like, I am a child of divorce. And I was like, yes, that's me. So, I mean, I'm not, I find Cynthia a little bit annoying. I always have found, it's something about the way she speaks. I don't know. She's, and here's my thing. Sometimes she tries to sound like kind of tough and sometimes in her confessionals, and it just I don't know, it doesn't always come off properly. Like I feel like she doesn't fully own it because she also wants to be like the nice girl. So sometimes I feel like she's confused about like who she is, which is kind of what Nene talked about. What were you gonna say though? Sorry.
It's funny we were talking about pageant girls because Cynthia sometimes I love Cynthia. Like she's not like appointment television, but like I like her. Around.
She's just a little annoying.
She kind of presents to me like a pageant girl sometimes, like someone that has like the answers like fired up, ready to go, like you've been training for this, like that kind of like mentality. And so like the whole, do you remember when her and Candy got like caught in the hot mic moment and then went to meet Nene and like that kind of, I think you take that, you take Ultimate Girls Trip, you take Celebrity Big Brother, you take like the season 7 reunion. Like we've seen the Cynthia that Nene's talking about many a times.
Yeah, I think she's telling the truth.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, you know what? I think Cynthia could have been like a top 10 housewife had she leaned into that a lot more. Because I think she wanted peace so much, just like she would let it go, like a lot of stuff drop. But if she didn't drop a lot of stuff and actually addressed a lot of stuff head on, and gave us the Cynthia that like we know nowadays publicly, because she wasn't giving us this publicly for a long time, then I think we would have had another. I think we'd be begging for Cynthia back too.
I agree. I also think that so when Nene was saying that, you know, Cynthia could even like put Peter in his place, and like there were times where like she kicked him out of the house and he was sleeping at bar 1 and all that kind of stuff. Like I was like, oh, okay. But you know, we saw those glimpses, just like you said, of like the real Cynthia. But remember that season, the one where she was like really mad at Nene, and she was like just like she went to meet Portia at lunch and she's wearing the glasses and you know, and she's like mad at her because like Portia didn't apologize for being late. Like that was the season where, to me, I don't know, that other Cynthia just came out and she couldn't even, you know, keep it in anymore. But it's like
7, I think.
I think it's season 7.
When Claudia joined, because that was a tough look for Cynthia.
That was a very tough look for Cynthia. But I do think that I could see that is maybe a side of her, but just like I was saying, like, I think that's why I've never been able to get 100% on board with Cynthia, because she always seems like she's trying to push down this person inside of her. And I almost wish that she would just, I don't know, let it out.
Right. You know, a crazy comparison. I don't even know if people like understand this, but that's the way sometimes I feel about Dorit on Beverly Hills.
100%.
I always feel like, because her first season,
she was so good.
so good. But right after that,
so good.
She got the Camille Grammer syndrome, where it's like, no, I don't want people to think I'm this way. Let me completely change my personality and go on the show now. And it's like, missed opportunity.
She's like, if I can smell your breath, you're a little too close.
Yeah.
Like, what happened to that girl? She was so
man.
And now she's just like, I'm sleeping whenever she's on camera. I mean, she still has her moments because she's so not self-aware.
Right.
And she's
the child of the world.
Right. And she's like kind of dumb. So she still has her moments. But so the other thing was that Nene talked about, and this kind of goes back to the Cynthia thing with like Nene sort of always being made out to be like the villain. Like, okay, so to me, it sounded like she was having a little bit of a Teresa Giudice kind of moment in that she's the star. So everyone's always trying to take her down, which I do think there is merit in that. Like, I think that's true.
Yeah.
I think you get those people that are so popular that every new person like Claudia who comes on is going to try to go up against you to have their moment. So she was like, everyone's making me the villain. And she's like, at the end of the day, now that she's not there, it's like, the girls are just not willing to work. It's like, and she said they just want to show up, get their checks, and they don't want to bleed for the show, especially people like Candy and others who've been there a while, because they I guess maybe they feel like too secure, or like you said, they don't have anyone worthy of going up against.
Right.
But she's saying like that's kind of the reason that she started to have her back up against the wall, is because everyone coming on is going up against her. And then she felt like Cynthia and others are conspiring to get her off the show. So I don't know. What did you think about that?
I think, you know what? I think that one of the even like more base level than that, I think that when you get the highest paycheck, because we all know Nene was the highest paid housewife when she was there.
Even though now Bethenny's trying to say she was, which I think is bullshit. But anyways.
Right. I think that once you get that that big paycheck like attached to your name, I think that that's when production kind of says, because you know, sometimes if they really, really like you, they'll try to protect you in some aspects. But I think once you get that highest paycheck, everything's off the table, because you have no choice but to work for their money. And so if you want to be the highest paid on the show, you got to be the one that's willing to take the most heat. Because even think about outside of Atlanta, think about Denise Richards when she came on and got that huge paycheck. Yeah, we're gonna talk about Brandy Glanville. Yeah, we're gonna talk about all this stuff, because we're gonna talk about Charlie Sheen. Why would we not? You're getting all this money from us. No, we're gonna talk about everything we want to. There's no protection for you. That's out the window. So I think even baseline, I think just baseline, like from a business financial standpoint, I think that's what a lot of these reality stars like don't understand. They're always thinking like, oh my God, everybody's against me. And it's like, that might be true, but it's also with this money comes this is so cheesy to say, but like with great power comes great responsibility.
No, but it's true though. I got you.
Yeah,
it's true.
You know, you gotta be willing to work for it, and you have no choice. Teresa, you're the highest paid over there. You got to take the heat. The heat's gonna come for you. You have no choice. It's coming. It's just what it is.
Well, the other thing, she felt like she was pushed off of the show. Like she said that basically she said, I just wanted to be treated fairly. She felt some things were unfair, but I mean, she's really vague about that, but I guess we can just kind of assume. But she said that she felt like she just wanted some acknowledgement from, I guess, Bravo. And she was like, she's kind of like, I had to learn the hard way, like corporate places, they don't love you. Right. They don't. And she's like, when I started, I didn't know that, because I guess Bravo was smaller. She could text with the executives, things like that. But then that went away as they got bigger. And she's like, you can't just text them. And then she said, you know, she is open to moving forward. But she also said that when she was pushed off the show, she felt like none of the girls fought for her the way that she fought for them, which I think I could see that, because I felt like not only did they not fight for her, I felt like they were maybe kind of part of it. Like a takedown in some ways, you know what I mean?
Probably were hoping to get a big part of their paycheck now that she's gone too. I think it was a lot at play there. Yeah, I agree.
You know, and I can get that, but I also, there's a part of me too that's like, there are some things that maybe it's like you can't get mad at the world because you didn't know that. Like it's sort of like you didn't know corporations don't love you. That might be a little bit your fault. Like I don't know. Maybe that's just coming from me as like a small person in the world and not
us
like
that have to deal with corporations, right?
Us that aren't in like the 1% that aren't like millionaires and stuff. Like we're like, duh, you know, how do you not? Like I feel like I've known that since I was a kid, but
right.
So, but it's kind of like maybe sometimes you get so lost in it and lost in like your fame and your status that, you know, you start to actually feel like you are almost bigger than the company in some ways. Like, do you think that it was more her fault in that she got lost in terms of her own like ego and popularity, or do you think it's more the people trying to take her down kind of aspect?
I think it was a couple things to play when that like led to her exit. I think one of them was, I think Bravo as a whole was trying to move away from the OGs. I think they wanted to save some money. I think they wanted to see if the shows could survive without them. Because remember, she wasn't the first one. I think Vicky was the first one to kind of get the axe.
Yes.
Then I think
Vicky and Tamara. Although Tamara, but she basically was an OG. Like not, but yes, yeah.
Right, I consider her one. It's like same way I kind of consider Candy one too on Atlanta. It's like she's been there like the whole time. Like
she basically
we'll is that. Right, and so I'm like, well, they got rid of them. They like got rid of. I think Nene was just kind of a casualty because when she left, I think what her detriment was when she left season 8 or after season 7 rather. They saw that the show like didn't dip in the ratings. It pretty much stayed like the exact same. So it's like, okay, well, we've seen her leave before. Nothing really happened. Can we do that again with her? But you know, the way we watch TV has changed so much now, and we don't have like a true kind of a vision of what the ratings are because they don't release all the information, unfortunately. But I think that one, the OGs like kind of being phased out across the shows. I think that did it. But then I think too, people kind of tend to forget that like around that time, everybody's like, you know, saying, oh, we need Nene back, we need this, we need that. But at the time, a lot of people were pushing for Nene to finally get the boot at the time because they really like they were like, okay, she's changed. She's her head's all the way up here, like all this kind of stuff. She didn't, you know, she closed the computer, didn't film for the last
everyone
part of the
wanted her gone.
Everybody, and that was it all played together, and she ended up like getting the boot. Like that's what it was. And so like, it's a lot at play.
This is why like part of me is like Bravo needs to stop listening to the audience all the time because they did the same thing with Tamara and Vicky. And I'm sorry, but like I never agreed with that decision. I was like, Tamara was a pain in the ass that season with the whole train thing with Kelly Dodd or whatever. But like look at what Kelly Dodd ended up being.
Exactly.
Like we abandoned it, and look at how OC went in the garbage after that. So it's like, let's stop. Just because the audience hates someone doesn't mean that now, okay, so she said though as well that Nene said she was offered a contract for 6 episodes to return, and this offended her. I don't know, like, did they offer that on purpose just to like piss her off and get her to quit? Like, do you think that? Okay.
You know what? And it's not the first time we've heard that. A couple of other housewives said that because I think Cynthia got the same thing after season 13. They were like, you know, that was her swan song, but she was like, well, they said they would like, you know, I could do like 6 episodes with a friend, like all that kind of stuff. But I was like, you know what? I've told a complete story. Maybe it's time for me to leave. So she ended up tapping out.
Okay.
It happened with Nene. It's happened in the other couple of the cities too. So I think that's kind of now. The question is, like you said, is it like an actual we want you around, let's do this thing, or is it kind of a let's insult them so much they'll just quit on their own and then we don't have to pay them anything kind of a thing. So it's really, you know, we don't know the workings that are going on behind like what's the true motive of it, but
she seems to think she was pushed out though. Like she says I was pushed out because like she said she also said, and I thought this was actually a good point. She said she hasn't done anything that other housewives haven't done. And I didn't think about it when she listed all the examples. I was like, oh, damn. Like she's like, other housewives have left reunions. Absolutely true. She said
Mary Cosby's back.
Exactly. Ramona's left. Like there's a million who left. she said, I mean, a lot of them have come back, but there are some, what's her name? Jacqueline didn't even show up for one on New Jersey. And then the other thing she said was like, yeah, she pushed the cameraman or pulled his shirt, whatever. But she's like, well, Teresa pushed Andy.
Yep.
I mean, like, she's not wrong. Because my first thought was like, yeah, but that was like a member of the crew. But then when she said the thing about Andy, I was like, oh, damn, that's true.
Right.
And maybe because we almost like expect Andy to be in the mess a little bit more than like a cameraman. And we're almost like, defend the little guy, like the poor camera. But at the same time, it's like, it's true, though. Like that could have been forgiven. So I can see why she kind of feels, like she was pushed out.
I can definitely see that, too. And I think that it's so hard to almost talk about, because I think that with Nene, I definitely think that when they offered her those 6 episodes, I think they knew her personality, and the word ego sounds so bad, but I think they knew her mentality so much that they knew she was not going to accept 6 episodes. So I think she'd rather just go out rather than accept like a show, like she said, a show she built, being reduced to a friend of, basically. So I think they knew, in that case at least, I think they knew they could offer her that. Like Cynthia, on the other hand, Cynthia might have accepted those 6 episodes. I think that was completely up in the air. But Nene, I was like, they knew she wasn't going to take.
I think so too.
Yeah. No.
So a couple last things that I do want to discuss, because I don't want to keep you for too long. I'm sorry. I don't want to.
No, you're fine.
Okay. So they talked about the show now. So
yes,
here I'm just going to read.
500, yes.
Yeah, I'm just going to read a few things that they said. Okay, so a few things she doesn't watch, which whatever, of course she's going to say that.
We hear that all the time.
Yeah. She sees the clips though. Marlo's the most entertaining. I mean, I begrudgingly agree. Marlo is doing too much, in that she's like trying to make up fake storylines and stuff, but 2 things can be true. She's still the most entertaining.
Yes, agreed.
So she says that she said she would be happy to have a Peach next to Marlo. She also said though that she thinks Candy is overrated, overpaid, has no issues with her, but that Candy's just like, she's not that exciting. The camera doesn't love her. No one tunes in for Candy. That people, your face. I wish everyone could see Kendrick's face. But that she says, this was my favorite. People just turn on the TV and are like, oh, there's Candy. Like, that was so. I'm sorry. Okay. I agree with her. I'm sorry. I love Candy, but I do agree with Nene. Do you agree?
Oh boy. So that's a lot to unpack. So I do think Marlo is the most entertaining. I definitely think that. And you know what? Kenya should be the most entertaining. It's just like she said. She said that Kenya doesn't have anyone to spar against.
No, she has no one.
100%. Because Kenya, with the shade and the reads, should be like,
Kenya looks at Marlo like, just look at this fool. Like, yeah,
exactly. Yes, and. Man, I feel so, because I feel like I defend Candy a lot. Now,
I do historically, too. I really do.
Historically, I've given Candy a lot of crap sometimes too. But when I think back on it, I do think that she doesn't get enough credit as a housewife, because she's the definition, I think, of playing her role. And so, like, we see like certain episodes are Candy heavy, depending on what she has going on. Like season 6, which is, in my opinion, I've said it before, the best Housewives season of all time.
I agree.
Across all franchises. Yes.
Yep.
And so Candy, when she needs to give it, she does. I think the problem is now, Candy, you need to give it, and you're not really doing that, because I think you're just over them. But now I will say Candy this season, I think this is the funniest she's ever been.
Yeah.
I think that she's having great moments. It's just that the moments that she's having, people don't care about, because they don't care about the whole Marlo nephew worked at OLG.
Yeah,
like they think they're so like tired and stuff. So it is. It is. It's nothing to really latch on to.
But do you think that that Candy, like what you said about Candy knowing her role, I thought that was interesting. Do you think that she can't play her role though, because the rest of the machine is broken? Like, do you know what I mean? Is that why? Like, because you're right. In the past, like, none of us, we haven't cared that she wasn't like the, Nene-ish or Portia. Yeah, because we didn't need that. She had a good like side. So is that maybe why?
I think so. In my mind, I think all the other girls are looking to Kandi for guidance. So like I think in the past it was like they looked to Nene because Nene is gonna be the one that says like, okay, well, I'm gonna bring this up and we go argue about this kind of on this, based on what I said. But I think that they're looking to Kandi for guidance, and a couple of things are happening. One thing that's happening is that Kandi isn't always there just because her schedule is literally so busy. I think the other thing is Kandi wants to protect her businesses. So like when someone's bringing up that like this whole nephew thing and all this stuff, she's not trying to engage in that mess because she's like, this can like definitely
ruin her business.
Right.
I don't blame her.
Absolutely. That like it all plays into a lot of that. And I think that Kandi all these years has never been like the center peach. And so I don't know if she knows how to transition into being one.
Okay.
I think maybe in Candy's mind, she's like, okay, well, we've got Kenya, we've got Sheree, like we've got people that are supposed to like be filling in these roles. Like, why are they looking to me? Like, I'm just like doing Kandi. I'm letting it. That's the problem. See, you got other people that like manufacture stuff, but then you got Kandi that lets everything happen naturally. And it might be a time which we like, but it might be a time where it's like we need someone else. I don't want to put it all on Kandi because I'm like, we just need someone else to like be the anchor. That's
I wouldn't put it all on her either. And that's and then they say like it is hard because and Sheree doesn't have it in her to be an anchor as Carlos and Nene say, which I do agree with. And Nene also says that she believes, and I want to get your opinion on this, that I'm going to assume they is like NBC, the like old white guys in charge, the machine, don't want Atlanta to be number one, but they won't say it. What did you think about that?
I thought that was interesting.
I thought it was very interesting.
Yeah, because I think that there's a lot to support it. I mean, I can't say.
I think a lot of people would agree.
Right. I think that the way Beverly Hills gets positioned, and I've always said my biggest thing with like the whole, because people love to compare Atlanta to Beverly Hills now, and I think one of the things that kind of works out a lot is that Atlanta is on Sunday, and it's almost so hard to build momentum because like they would have like a great 5-episode stretch, and it's like, oh well, we got to take off for 2 Sundays and then come back.
That's my problem.
Right? It's like
I don't think any Bravo show should be on Sunday.
You know what?
I've always thought that. Who wants that?
Right. It's too much because it's like, well, dang, I was like loving this, like, dang, okay, well, there's a Super Bowl, so can't watch it that week. Oh, well, there's the Oscars. Oh, there are the Emmys, so can't show it that night. And it's like, well, dang. But then Beverly Hills goes a full season uninterrupted, and you look forward to it week after week after week because you know it's Housewives, it's your cast, you love it, all this kind of stuff. So it's like they're almost shot in the foot in a lot of different ways anyway. And so I think that when you have this, I think all the stuff is kind of true because Atlanta, they're obviously not as strong in the live ratings because according to Kandi, she says that like once you put all the numbers together like they do for all the shows, she said Atlanta is killing it. So I believe. I
believe her too.
Yeah, I think that once you put all the numbers together for all these shows, I think we watch TV differently. So like that doesn't shock me.
I had to take some issue when she said, "Oh, we used to have 5 million, now it's 500,000." I was like, "You're taking that a little out of context." Like,
right.
You're not going to get 5 million live viewers
on anything.
We don't watch TV that way. That's why people were making such a big deal about like Vanderpump getting like 1.6.
Exactly.
Because that's a big deal just because that's that quick snapshot. Like you're not usually getting that many live. Even like Beverly Hills isn't usually getting that much live. And they've been a big one for the last couple of years with the whole Erica thing. Right. But yeah. So I don't know. I mean, okay, so Carlos says, just kind of like towards the end, that he thinks this can all... Okay, so Nene does her address to Andy. Says she has no... I heard you had a baby. Like, she does that whole thing. It was weird. I thought it was so weird because she almost sounded sarcastic, but she wasn't. Do you know what I mean? But it was bordering on, like, to me, I don't know, maybe that was just how I read it, but to me it was like bordering on like, I know you always wanted kids, like, so she said she has no ill feelings towards him, congrats on the kids, and she says she gets over things, she's not mad, but she does say it's sad that the other side can't do that. So to me that was where I kind of got the like impression of her giving the message of, Andy, I'm ready to make up, like it's we're good, you know. And then Carlos says like everything can be fixed with a 3-hour lunch. And then
which I think too.
So I mean I kind of agree, because I think Andy sees like the money making potential and all that. So but then he says you should be as big as Kim Kardashian. And she gets emotional and cries. Now, there's been a lot of controversy online. And sorry, I don't want to keep you much longer. This will be our last talking point.
I promise you're fine.
Okay. So this will be our last talking point is, I think we both agree it can be solved with a 3-hour lunch. I don't think there's much more to say about that. But I do think that Andy and the other side will be willing to do that. But a lot of people are taking issue with this Kim K thing because of the whole baby shower. Because people are like, okay, that was on E. It came out before Real Housewives of Atlanta. The sex tape was already out. I don't know. Like people are like looking it up and they're like, it was her baby shower. Like, why? Who cares where you're standing in the picture? Like, I don't know. What did you think about that?
All weird, first of all. And I think, you know what? I almost think any reality star can make that claim against the Kardashians too. I just think that honestly, I hate to say, but like I think they just had like a different kind of machine behind them. I think that
I think so too.
E wanted to make them the biggest like names in the world, and I think that like their first season they had a lot going on. They had like everyone loved the family dynamic. Everyone thought they were so beautiful, all this kind of stuff, and everyone thought that the sex tape and all Paris Hilton and all this stuff. So it was a lot of draw-ins. I think it
was just different.
I think that Kris Jenner was going to like determine to make this family succeed, and I think that
and Nene didn't have that.
The Atlanta Housewives didn't have like anyone behind them saying, okay, you guys should be doing this, you should be doing that, you should be and I hate that because
it sucks. Oh God, they only had themselves.
It almost makes you like go back to Bethenny, like, oh, maybe people should have like represent it all rolls back to Bethenny, God. But that's what it kind of makes me think that, because I'm like, well, she should be a lot bigger than what she is. I will say that. I don't know if I always have like a little bit of like hardness saying that people should be as big as the Kardashians, because I just think that going in, they had a better plan laid out than a lot of other people. And I think that they looked the way that like networks wanted them to look, and advertisers and all this kind of stuff. And I think there was a whole lot at play. Now, do I think that Nene is a more entertaining reality star than Kim Kardashian? 1,000%, right? So she should be getting the world, and the world should be opening doors for her. But I think it's hard to argue anybody will be as big as the Kardashians, because
I think it's a tough argument to say, like, because like the whole sex tape thing, that's like its own
people
thing.
Love scandal.
People love scandal. And then there's also like they did that whole like social media thing that no one they became like whereas like Nene's never been in that. Like she has social media, but not as like a business, I guess, the way that they did it. But I see what people are saying with the difference between E versus Bravo. And I understand why people are taking issue with her being like, oh, Bravo opened doors for Kim that they didn't open for me. I could see why people are like, yeah, but they were it was a different whatever. I don't know. Maybe there could be more stuff behind the scenes that Nene knows that we don't know. So,
and you know what?
I don't know.
One of the problems I had too was that I could be convinced of Nene's point at some point, but the examples that she used were so bad, because like she used the whole shoe dazzle thing. Yeah, she used
that was a bad example.
A really bad one. She was like, they didn't push me on shoe dazzle as much as they did Kim Kardashian. And I was like, didn't she like found the company. Like, wasn't that like her thing? Like she like I so like I don't think anybody was gonna get pushed as much as Kim Kardashian by a company she helped start. So I don't know, but it was just like if she would have come with like better examples, then maybe I could have actually gotten on board with it. But I just think the ones that she was ready to like present during this conversation didn't land as much as they should have.
So what do you think about I think this is a good place to kind of end up. What do you think about the movement? I'm going to call it a movement of people saying that we need to just reboot RHOA. Because I think his name was it Jonathan Chandler, maybe?
Oh, yes, love Jonathan. Yes.
He wrote an article about why we need to reboot RHOA. And a lot of people were like, yes. So what do you think about that? Because I'm on the fence.
Yes.
Because I don't want to start a trend because I don't want them to all be rebooted.
I think Atlanta too is New York was an easy reboot and an easy sell for me because
that was an easy reboot.
It's so many people to pick from, and it was an opportunity for them to correct what like RHONY should have looked like in the first place. So I that like worked out for me. Atlanta is gonna be it's a little harder for me because I think that there are so many people like rushing to Atlanta to become like the next big reality star that you might get a cast entirely filled with Nenes, and I don't think that's good for any TV show.
And you might get a lot of faking.
Yeah, a lot of it, and that's gonna be
we don't want that. That was my worry about New York. Like when I heard that a couple of them were influencers, I was like, no.
Right.
And it's been, I've actually liked it. So, and I will say I went into it skeptical because I was worried that we were going to have a bunch of people like, just trying to get the perfect like social media, whatever. And I was worried they weren't going to bring it, but I'm actually really enjoying it. So it's all good. But
same.
But yeah, like it does make me worry that if they did that for all these shows, then it's people who already know they know I'm going on to a show that's already a hit.
Yeah.
Like, where's the incentive to, like, you have a built-in audience, so where's the incentive to show up? So that's my concern.
I literally every day of the week I go back and forth about this because the thought I will say they could probably get me on board if they actually, I know they couldn't do it with New York because the egos over there would not allow them to get the contracts together.
No.
But if they actually did I would get behind an Atlanta reboot if they actually did the Atlanta legacy. Now, if we had both of those, like put one of them on Peacock and have one, I can get behind that. I always said RHONY was the wrong one to try to do a legacy with because I don't care at all. What I do care about, if you gave me a Jersey legacy and an Atlanta legacy, that's all I need in reality TV. I would be okay. Tell Teresa, leave that show to Jennifer Aiden and all of them. You come over here like you, Caroline.
Oh
Jacqueline,
my God, I would love that.
Give us that.
Obsessed.
That's what we want. That's what we want. Like, I would love that. And so the same thing with Atlanta. That if we're gonna like talk about a reboot, I need the legacy because I'm not ready to let go of Kenya. I'm not ready to let go of Candy.
No, I'm not either.
Portia and all.
Same.
I'm not. So we need the legacy. Give me, put those three. Give me Cynthia. Give me Nene if y'all can work it out. Give me, who else do I want on there? Phaedra's gone on to Married to Medicine, so she won't be back.
Yeah,
but
we can't. We'll never get Phaedra.
Right.
I get, and like people were like, we never got, Nene and Carla were like, we never got that Phaedra Candy sit down thing, which I was kind of like, do we need that? Because Phaedra has never admitted openly to that. And even on Ultimate Girls Trip, she was like, will not. So I'm like, is she going to even talk? Like, is there a point?
Right. And my thing was, I get it. Like, I know people like thought that was one of the reasons they said like Candy owed that to the world and all this kind of stuff. I don't think in that situation I don't think Candy owed anybody anything.
No,
in that situation. Like, I'm glad
he was owed apologies. Yeah,
right.
And
I don't think Candy owes that to anybody. So if Candy said that's a hard line in the sand for me for y'all to say someone that I'm drugging people and doing all of this, that's a hard no. She needs to leave, and I'm not addressing that with her anymore. Then I'm like, you know what? That's your prerogative. You were the one affected by that. People are calling you Bill Cosby and the comments and all that kind of stuff. Like, no, she don't know anybody anything.
Exactly. Like that happened to her with frickin' frack or whatever Nene called them. I think, listen, I'm not ready to let go either. I mean, let's look at us. Like, we're sitting here still holding on to maybe Nene coming back. So,
right.
And look how many people are on social media. Like, every week, people are calling for it. So, like, people still obviously want, like, they want the, I don't know, the foundation of Atlanta. Like, people still want that. So, that's why, like, to me, you know, I totally get why people are calling for the reboot, but I don't think we're at, I feel like
we're not at that point.
Yeah, you have to be at rock bottom. We're not at rock bottom.
No, and I think we're far from it, honestly. I just think that a lot of people bandwagon sometimes when they say, oh yeah, everyone's hating this, so I hate it too. Like, it's not, it's really not that, but like, Atlanta makes me laugh every Sunday. I just think, honestly, if you tweak this cast a little bit, I really think you can be right back on top.
We need some just tweaking. We need no Sonya.
Right.
That's an easy one.
And you know what? I like her, but it's not a good fit. It's just not.
I actually like kind of enjoy like dragging her now. That's just like it's kind of fun. Like now I'm like, maybe she should stay.
Right.
But like we need like get rid of this, what's her name? Courtney. She's useless.
Yeah.
Like just we need, I don't know what they need, but we need Portia back. I saw Kenya and Portia followed each other again.
Yes, we're at the same like kids' birthday party.
Yeah, so let's like, to me that's hope. That's all I need.
If we could get,
it's on the horizon.
Imagine this: if we'll get rid of the friends of.
Okay,
but if you keep this main 6-person cast, and think about it, add Portia in. That's number one. But if you actually have Kenya and Portia for the first time in history on the same side. Going against Marlo and Sheree, man, that would be TV gold. Yes.
Okay, so let's do it.
That's all we need.
I know it's like
bring back Cynthia as a friend of. We got something.
Just give Portia whatever the fucking money is that she wants. I don't care. Give it to her. Let's call it a day. She deserves it. Let's go.
I know we're about to get out of here, but let me make one more point.
No, it's fine. You can make 10 more.
I've always thought it was so weird that Atlanta, for some reason, will not have more than 6 housewives. And I hate that like other shows have gotten up to 8, like international ones have got up to 9. So it's like, why can't we have like either a 7 or 8-person cast to like really, I know like they get the most money out of like the girls.
So they've never had more than 6.
The only time they've had
I just haven't thought about it.
Yeah, it was briefly during season 5 at the beginning when Kim was still there, but then she quit and it went right back to 6.
Interesting. You're right. Now that I think, I'm like thinking about all the title cards in my head.
Yep.
I mean, there's been like some Beverly Hills title cards where I'm like,
right.
Like, who are these people?
It's like a school dance, right?
It's like so many.
Right.
Yes. You know what? That is true. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if it's now, do you think it could? No, that doesn't make any sense. I was going to say maybe it's because of like the paycheck that they're giving Candy or whatever, but they're giving those big paychecks to Kyle Richards and other people. Right. So you're right. It doesn't really make sense, but I think they do need a bigger cast. I think that is one of the problems. Even like
and way more group scenes. That's it. That'll fix it right there.
More group scenes, and conversely, more two housewives going out together mixed in with the groups. I know that sounds weird, but it's like, you know how when Sheree and Candy recently had that conversation where she was like she by Shein or whatever, that was so good.
Yes.
We need, that was like so old Atlanta to me. I loved it. Like we need more of that. And
that was perfect.
Right. And we need like some, I don't know, we need a lot of things, but thank you so much. Thank you so much for, honestly, this was so fun.
I know. I always look forward to when we record together. If y'all don't know, she's been on my podcast. So go find her. Yes.
Go listen to we did the funnest episode and we talked about like every single Bravo show that could.
Yes.
Vanderpump Rules, Atlanta, OC.
I think it was a solid 2 hours. So yeah.
So if you're looking for some content, there's 2 hours. Just look for the at Bravo and Botox. But I am going to put all of Kendrick's socials and all that kind of stuff in the show notes, but follow him at Reality Comics 2. Listen to his podcast because it's amazing and he has great guests, especially if you are into Love Island. He's got all those people coming. And you're going to come back again, right?
Oh,
Please,
whenever you ask me, I'm here. Yeah.
I'm going to be doing like some sort of Portia episode one of these days.
Yes.
And maybe I need you on to fight me about.
We need to be plaintiff and defendant.
Yes,
so yes,
you'll be the defender and I will be the cross-examination. God, that would be so fun. We should totally do it like that. I would love that.
I'm ready.
Well, thank you so much. I've kept you for like almost 2 hours once again, but that's okay.
That's how we always do. That's us.
We're even now.
Right.
So everyone, thank you so much for joining. Have a great week. And hopefully sometime soon, we will all be hearing about a Portia or Nene comeback.
Boom. There we go. Fingers crossed, everybody.
Thanks for listening, everyone. If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate, review, subscribe, and share with a friend or 100 friends, whatever you want. You can follow me on Instagram at the Bravo Papers, or for my Twitter roundups, follow at Bravo and Botox. If you'd like to support me, please go to buymeacoffee.com/Bravo and Botox for some much needed caffeine support. And until next time, keep overanalyzing Bravo.